Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, obviously enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, May 14th, 2026. This is live stream 1323. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out it's super casual. Just hanging around talking about the latest in tabletop role-playing game news. And then I will normally pontificate about a topic related to our hobby. And tonight is going to be no different, as I'm going to discuss how AI is now a blight on the tabletop role-playing game industry. That is our topic tonight, and hopefully folks will be chiming in on that as well. But, of course, I should mention, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, because this is a live show, that means there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check off that box and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my absolute best to respond. First, out the gate tonight is Cthulhu. We've got Semper Buffo, retired on a bike. Our good friend of the show, the Madman, is with us. My condolences to you and your family. Sadly enough, I know there was a passing in your family you would let me know about. Very sorry to hear about that. Michael Berry's with us, as is Cooperative Waffles, Harvey Chuckles, Velimir Cleaver, and I think that is everyone. I hope you brought enough for everyone. Gum, eh, Lyle? So I had a cough there. That was kind of weird. Anyway, we might have the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D joining us as well, lurking in the shadows as our other chat moderator alongside the Madman. If so, hello, Miss Sarah D. So, welcome, everybody. It is kind of an odd Thursday around these here parts. Not that anything in particular has gone on. It's just every time I turn around when I'm on YouTube, it's like all these recommended videos of things that I have never shown any interest in are popping up, and it's all like, it's over. It's the end. Is it time to wrap this up? It's like, is that what the theme is this month? Everybody throwing in the towel, or saying they're going to throw in the towel so that people will click on their videos or whatever. It's like, what the hell's going on here? Weird. Very weird. Anyway, let's dive on into the news, because hitting stores from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games is Warhammer, the Old World Role-Playing Game Game Master's Guide. Here's the latest. Take your Warhammer campaigns to the next level with the Game Master's Guide, a 192-page full-color hardcover packed with expert advice, storytelling tools, and game-enhancing mechanics for running unforgettable adventures in the grim world of Warhammer, the Old World. Designed to complement the player's guide, this essential volume gives game masters everything they need to build immersive, perilous, and character-driven campaigns in a setting where every choice could lead to glory or corruption. Learn how to run engaging sessions with guidance tailored to the unique tone, themes, and mechanics of the old world, perfect for both new and veteran GMs. Use grim portents, NPC contacts, and dark threads to craft layered stories and keep your players invested in every twist of fate. Delve into the city of Talagad and its surrounding regions, and adapt your campaigns to other iconic areas of the old world with ease. Introduce magic items, downtime events, and the terrifying paths to corruption. Tools designed to shock, tempt, and challenge your players, while populating your world with a huge array of fully developed NPCs, complete with plot hooks, goals, and conspiracies to weave into your campaign. With the Game Master's Guide at your side, you'll have the tools that build tension, breathe life into the old world, and guide your players through dark tales of danger, intrigue, and war. 2 tomes of grim peril, 1 legendary collection. The 192-page hardcover with PDF, if you order from Cubicle 7 Games, does carry an MSRP of $39.99. If you want to score just the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. So I did find out that we have got some Warhammer The Old World releases, as well as some releases for the Laundry being sent from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games. So we are going to have some Cubicle 7 Games goodness very shortly to dive on into. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's see. A few more people popping on into chat. Yes, Miss Sarah D is with us tonight. W. Forge is joined us, as has Pete Drakulich, Danny W. Gable, and Martin 7W. Very nice. Oh, I see Mark Hawkswell's also popping on in. Valamir says a lot of D&D/RPG influencers have the same management company. That's why there seems to be a lot of these channels with the general subjects. Funny enough, these are not channels about games. Once again, like I said, I'm getting stuff recommended in my streams, in your recommended videos section of stuff that I've never shown any interest in. And every time I turn around, the topic, the title is something along the lines of why I'm throwing in the towel, or is it time to quit? It's like, what the hell is going on with people? I don't get it. I just don't get it. So, Troy Cornelson is also jumping on in. Says, what do people think of using AI to assist the GM in his personal campaign? We will get to that topic in just a bit, because that is our topic tonight, not necessarily using AI as a game mastering assistant, but talking about how AI is a blight on our hobby. So, and I don't mean all AI. We'll get into it. Kathy Evans and Grouchy Lenny are jumping on in. Grouchy Lenny says, clickbait titles get lots of views. Yeah, I know. I understand that. I shy away from it. It's just not my thing. Not a clickbait sort of guy. So it's just the way it goes. All right. Moonlight Long, also making its way into stores this month, is the Magnus Archives Player's Guide. I've got the lowdown from Monte Cook Games. Create characters, explore the world of the Magnus Archives, and access the easy-to-learn cipher system rules that power the Magnus Archives role-playing game. Rolling-playing game. Okie dokie. About English this time around, Jeff. This handy player's guide provides an easy, inexpensive way to have multiple copies of the game's most important player-facing content at the game table. The Magnus Archives role-playing game takes you into the world of the top horror podcast. Interact with the podcast characters and pursue classic horrors from the show as a researcher at the Magnus Institute. Or create your own similar institution and investigate horrors of your own creation. There's even a very cool system for generating new statements as a group to create your adventures. This handy player's guide gives players key information so the GM doesn't have to keep sharing their core book. The 44-page softcover is out in stores. It carries an MSRP of $19.99. I should also mention you can get the PDF absolutely free over at DriveThruRPG, which is, I'm sure, what the vast majority of people are choosing to do. So I was going to say, $20 for a 44-page softcover player's guide, yeah, a little pricey. I say it's a little pricey. Valamir says, I thought you were referencing Dungeon Tubers whining. Oh, yeah, there's plenty of that, too. Don't get me wrong. Because YouTube told them they were no longer going to be promoted, so they were going to quit. Yeah, but YouTube's screwing around with how all videos are promoted. So YouTube doesn't go out of their way to inform individual channels that they are being promoted or not being promoted or anything like that. The only time that YouTube will contact anybody, and it's just a canned email anyway, is if their channel's been demonetized or if their channel or their video has been taken down because it's been flagged for something. But that's not even an individual person reaching out. It's just an automated email that comes out. But I guess if you're a large enough channel, which I am not, I think you need to have 100,000 subs. You'll actually have like an account rep assigned to you who obviously works with probably hundreds of other channels too. But yeah, I don't know what to say about the people going off about how YouTube's not going to promote their videos anymore. I mean, if people subscribe to a channel, they ring the bell and they select that they want to get all notifications from that channel, and they still don't get all the notifications, I don't think promotion really matters all that much either. So, and I see Kevin King is with us, as is Captain Infinity Time Travel Police. Captain Infinity says AI is a blight, period. Said they caught Grok lying to them several times. Today, it gave them pushback on an opinion. Jeez. Yeah. Well, like I said, we're gonna get into the topic in just a bit. On to our next news piece, though. There's a new bundle of holding offer, which has arrived from the Other Side Publishing, and of course, bundle of holding. And I've got the deets on the deal. Adventurer. The Other Side OSR bundle presents tabletop fantasy role-playing games, source books of magical witchery from the Other Side Publishing for old school revival, rule systems like Shadow Dark, Old School Essentials, Swords and Wizardry, and other basic expert style, basic era retro clones. Designed by Timothy Brannan, these bewitching supplements craft powerful character classes and hundreds of spells, monsters, and treasures for your old school campaigns. Tim draws on classical and pagan sources to conjure ready-to-play backgrounds, heritages, familiars, cults and covens, invocations and curses, charms and talismans, house spirits, siren songs, places of power, and of course, brooms. Although they reference historical occult traditions of deviltry and black magic, these high crunch nuts and bolts supplements from the other side aren't likely to revive the 1980s satanic panic. But the ritual powers in these books may evoke gasps from players and game masters alike. A green witch and a druid can awaken a forest. 3 daughters of darkness together can restore life to a vampire. 3 classical witches can summon a titan to destroy a city. Dozens of monsters like bog crones, troll hags, demodans, flying heads, and many types of Lilium, children of Lilith, and the Impundulu, lightning bird, present both immediate threats and adventure hooks. Call forth these figures from the other side to hold your gaming table spellbound. For just $7.95, you'll get all 11 complete old school supplements in the Witchery Collection, which has a retail value of $64.50 as DRM-free PDFs, including the Left-Hand Path, the Children of the Gods, plus its spin-off, The Cult of Diana, the Craft of the Wise, the Daughters of Darkness, the Green Witch, the Warlock, the Winter Witch, and the Shadow Dark supplement, The Witch, Book of Shadows, plus the Pay What You Want Witch character sheet folio, along with Monster Mash and Monster Mash 2, A Midsummer Night's Dream. 2 books of playable werewolves, vampires, ghosts, golems, hobgoblins, bugbears, centaurs, and many other monstrous character classes. The savings in this bundle will run through May 25th. I got to be honest, I was not familiar with these releases and the other side publishing prior to this. Kind of interesting. I am a little intrigued by the 2 books of playable monster classes. Very nice. Very nice. All righty. So let's see. Some back and forth a little more on our AI topic, which is coming shortly. Valamir Cleaver says they already have all of Tim's witch PDFs. Very nice. So how are they? They must be fairly decent if you've picked them all up, unless you got them in some sort of a bundle previously. Moonrun Long, hitting stores for slightly reckless games, is Berserker. Here's the skinny. In the cold shadows of Yggdrasil, where gods clash and destinies are forged in fire, a new saga awaits. The creators of the critically acclaimed Ronin bring their next epic journey to you, Berserker. I know, if I could sing the song from Clerks, I would, but I can't. I can't remember exactly how it goes. Welcome, warriors, adventurers, and dreamers. Step into a world where Norse mythology collides with the raw, gritty mechanics of Mörkborg and old school Renaissance. Here, you're not just role-playing a character, you're crafting your saga, shaping the fates of the 9 realms as Ragnarok looms. Berserker throws you into the raw guts of Norse mythology, a world where every decision you make sends shockwaves through the cosmos. You'll invoke runic magic, clash with iconic monsters and foes, forge alliances, lie, cheat, or even kill gods, and steer the wild course of the impending apocalypse. This isn't just a game, it's a brutal dance with destiny. Inside the core rulebook, you'll find runic magic. Each of the 24 Norse runes grants your characters magic that can be used as spells or applied to weapons and armor. These are tailored to the symbol's meaning, providing diverse strategic choices. You'll find a gritty OSR mechanical experience because the raw, unfiltered intensity of old school Renaissance gameplay comes across where every decision matters and the stakes are always high. Expect fast-paced cinematic action. Face the ultimate test in Berserker. When your hero falls, plead your case before the gods, recounting your valorous deeds to earn your place in the hallowed halls of Valhalla. Dive deep into a world steeped in ancient legends, from the frostbitten realms of Jotunheim, the fiery chasms of Muspelheim, Muspelheim, or Muspelheim. I'm not familiar with that. Never heard of that before. And to the golden halls of Asgard. These player-driven narratives twist and turn. Your choices will craft the saga, determining alliances, betrayals, and the ultimate outcome of Ragnarok. It's a dynamic world where aiding Loki or Odin influences the progression toward the final battle. Each quest, each legendary weapon, the gods want their grubby mitts on your goods. Do you want to piss them off? The 218-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $48. If you want to grab the PDF alone, you can do so for $23 over at Drive-Thru RPG. And this is our giveaway tonight. I'm going to give away a copy of Berserker in PDF to one lucky viewer. Get ready, prepare yourself. The trivia question is coming up shortly. So, comment about reading Tim's blog. I actually saw the blog today when I was putting together the news piece about the bundle. And yeah, it looks really good. Really, really solid. All right. So let's see. Oh, now, son of a witch. And Danny Gable is, oh gosh, trying to remember the band now. I can't, I'm zoning out. I'm zoning out on the band. Now you're messing with a son of a witch is what they wrote. And Valamir says it's obvious that Tim is really into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Cool deal. All right. Let's talk about our final news piece, because arriving in print this month is the old school adventure, The Black Manse. And here's the latest from Spear Witch. Long ago, the Gungish papacy decided to war with hell. In their hubris, they were rebuffed. Thousands of zealot paladins routed from the infernal plains to be reviled for their smoking wounds and sin-mutilated limbs once they returned to the surface. Some were lucky enough to leave. One of them clawed his way back to the land of the living, armor soot black and fused to his not quite mortal flesh. The archvicar rewarded him, relegating him to a tract of cold woods and stark hills in the far reaches of the empire, to rule over this rambling mess of rooms and halls for evermore. It's the newest creation from the twisted mind of Micah Anderson. Enter the demons of a hellish anti-paladin and uncover his plans for world domination. Steal dread tomes full of eldritch knowledge. Destroy a cult dedicated to burrowing through the worlds, or join them. Even though this is written for the Bastards role-playing game, it can easily be adapted to other similar systems. Keep in mind, this does contain adult themes, gore, and horror. The 44-page hardcover will carry an MSRP of $30. Nice. And this looks like a pretty old school kind of approach. It looks like, from taking a peek at the images I'm sharing, looks like this is a keyed location, and it's not giving you any sort of plot line or anything like that. So it's all just, okay, here's what's that, this spot, very old school approach. There you go. Nazareth was the band. I was going to say, I don't know, for one reason, for some oddball reason, I should say, I was thinking Blue Oyster Cult, and I'm like, it is not Blue Oyster Cult. I know that for a fact. Anyway, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I mentioned Drive-Thru RPG a few times. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of those One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a 5% commission on most of those sales. And all those commissions really do add up. Help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you're hanging out, watching live in chat, be sure to hit the little heart button or any one of those little emojis there. And if you're watching on a mobile device, if you got some hype points, by all means, feel free to sprinkle a few on to the video. Every little bit helps get the word out there. And of course, if you happen to like the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just dig what we do, there are a couple of other ways that you can help support the outlet. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal, such as Scott Pyle recently did. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Velvety smooth. And you can also become a member of our Patreon. And during all of our live streams, I do my best to give a tip of the cap and a big thank you to our Patreon members. Give them a shout out. So big thanks to Ben Oathwaite, Kuval, Kevin R. Smith, Talzek, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Lutman, Gustavo Cavalho, Kevin King, Game Cat, RPG Munch, Tier 2 DM, Faradrift, Pete Stracklich, the Tabletop Scholar, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, The Madman, and Flint Fireforge. Thank you very, very kindly. Of course, you'll find links to all this in the show notes. Also in the show notes, you'll find an invite link to our Discord server, absolutely free to sign up. So be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. Speaking of Discord, if you're a member of the Discord server, I am going to share some items because I'm probably going to have another game sale. Maybe kick it off like 1st of June and run it through the month. But I have to point out, for whatever reason, Free League Publishing just keeps sending me duplicates of everything. So I honestly, I actually have 3 copies of the Pirate Borg starter set. So of course, you know, one of them is for me. I've got 2 copies of the Coriolis Flowers of Algreb. I think, if I remember correctly, that's the title of it. I have a spare copy of that. All the new Lord of the Rings releases, I've got 2 copies in transit of that now. So I am going to offer up some of these items. Well, I should say I'm going to offer all of them. It's going to take me probably over the weekend to go and take a peek to see exactly what I've got all these duplicates of. Because for whatever reason, Free League Publishing's been doing this for a while, and I have informed them a couple of times, hey, you know, how do you want me to go about doing this? And they're like, okay, keep filling out the form for the review copies. And I'm like, okay. And then they just, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But I am going to provide the members of the Patreon the opportunity to jump aboard the sale early once again. And before I roll out the sale, I am going to let people know what I've got the duplicates of if they are interested in them. And I will tell you, probably about going right like 55% of the MSRP. It's usually what I do. So anyway, just letting you know. Danny Gable's talking about RC for the discerning cola taste. I almost included an RC ad on today's brief intermission, but I did not. Cooperative Waffle says, I'll be your offsite storage center. Danny W. Gable says they got a few spots on their shelf. Yeah, and then, of course, I really want to try to get rid of some of the board games that I've got. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to just give them away for practically nothing, because I have a lot of board games that are like $100 board games and stuff. But then again, they're kind of taking up space here. And if something ever happens to me, well, I shouldn't say if, whenever something were to happen to me, there's a lot of stuff in the Duct Tape Studios. So, Dirk Krieger's with us, says you could charity raffle them. I have done that before. I've done like 50/50s where I didn't do like raffles, but I have had sales where it was like half of what I brought in went to Extra Life. So I've done that before. I donate stuff all the time. But, you know, when you've got like a big ass, you know, like $100 board game, you're not going to just go drop it off someplace. Just like when I had a veterans hospital near me when I was out in Arizona, I used to go just donate a lot of the GMT war games to them. They were vastly appreciated. Anywho, so just mentioning that. Something else I should point out. Over on the Epic Games Store, a couple of really solid freebies today. One is the Batman Telltale. I think it's the first adventure, because I think they did two. Pretty sure it's the first adventure. And then there is another like roguelike. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But a couple of, because I mean, every Thursday you get new freebies over at the Epic Games Store. And sometimes they're awesome. Sometimes it's kind of like, sometimes it's just a rehash of something that they gave away free previously and that. So, but yeah, some good stuff over there. So by all means, I know we don't talk, you know, computer games much here, but some goodies there. And Klontos has joined us in chat. Very nice. Oh, tonight we are going to be talking about the Blight, which is AI. And I'm serious. It really is a blight on our hobby, on the tabletop role-playing game industry. We're going to talk about this a little bit, and then I am going to throw down a gauntlet. And I might not be very well liked for what I've got to say. I may get the boot as far as being an affiliate of the One Bookshelf sites. But I think it's time for us to start making a stand, because if we don't, we'll never have an opportunity again. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Hot dogs, the all-American favorite. Certainly we serve them, piping hot and full of flavor. Call for yours now.
May I help you, sir?
If I wanted a Whopper and I asked you to hold the pickles and hold the lettuce, I know I'd get that fast. But would I get to hear you sing?
No, sir.
No?
You'd get to hear us sing. Girls? as one big hamburger.
Have it your way. Have it your way. Have it your way at Burger King. Come on now, have it your.
Now, from Planet of the Apes, exciting, lifelike figures. Move them, position them. Help Galon and the astronauts escape. And from Star Trek, voyage into the unknown with Mr. Spock and the crew from the Enterprise. Will they defeat the dreaded Klingon? It's up to you. Planet of the Apes and Star Trek, exciting, lifelike figures, new from Palatoy.
It's my new drinking fountain. Wilkins Instant Coffee here, and water here. I'll take water. Next.
All I know is today's October the 31st. 31 backwards is 13. It's Friday, it's Halloween. It's the 13th anniversary of the lawnmower killings. It's a crazy loose. It's prom night. I'm out of coffee.
Oh, there was a phone message for you.
Oh, wow. From Norman?
At first it goes, your daughter's gonna die tonight.
I'm not gonna scream, and I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna scream, and I'm not gonna run.
Then he says,
Oh, wow.
friend of yours, dear?
Probably. Is that you? Why'd you run away? Don't you want to go to the Halloween pumpkin prom with me? Huh?
Police business? I'd like to have a few words with you.
I'm scared about tonight.
About making it with Norman? Or getting hacked up by the lawnmower?
Or both.
Where is the scalpel?
Will this do, dear?
The lawnmower killer! Sorry, Mom.
It's Halloween, it's prom night. There's a psycho loose. So don't open the door, don't answer the phone, don't look in the attic, don't go to the bathroom, don't go into the ocean, and don't go into space because no one can hear you scream. Signed, a friend.
Julia Duffy was so traumatized by her experience with Wacko, she had to move to New Hampshire. Isn't that where Newhart's? Isn't that where it took place? Wasn't the inn in New Hampshire? It's been a long time since I saw that show, but yes, as Keith Ulu points out, yes, George Kennedy was in that as well. And of course, we began with Joe Don Baker, Mitchell himself. Yes. All right. So tonight, I'm going to talk about how AI is a blight on our hobby and the tabletop role-playing game industry. And it's in a variety of different ways. Now, before we get into the topic, I forget who it was, asked a little bit earlier what people thought of using AI assistance as a game master. And I'll be very honest, I have been approached by a variety of companies who've wanted me to team up with them to help promote GM assistance built on AI. And I haven't even dipped my toes into it. I'm like, no, that's okay. No, thanks. I haven't like railed on them like, oh, damn you, AI. No. But it's just not something that I'm interested in. J-Man has joined us in chat tonight. Welcome back. But it all depends on how it's utilized. So AI, in certain ways, as a tool to assist humanity, is going to be good. AI as a way to make some humans obsolete and redundant is not good. AI that's utilized to scrape other people's hard work and creativity to build something of its own that's new without any sort of accreditation is not good, right? But as far as utilizing an AI tool to help you as a game master, I don't really see an issue with that, depending on how the artificial intelligence gathers its information to use as an assistance tool. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of stuff going on with AI that isn't always necessarily in front of the public as much as it should be. So I don't know how many of you live in areas where data centers are looking to be built. And of course, the companies that are pushing these data centers, try to present it as, oh, well, it's going to create all these new jobs, which it doesn't. And it's going to be so good for, the area and that, and it's not. I've seen where these different places where these data centers are built, which is what powers the AI online, that people's utility bills have gone through the roof because of the power usage of the data centers, of the water usage for cooling in these data centers. So anyway, Grouchy Lenny says AI used to edit other people's photos for an RPG history archive is in very poor taste. I'm right with you on that. I'm not even going to mention those boneheads by name, but yeah, that's to me, that's shady as fuck. To sit there and they're playing it off like, and the funny thing is, it's a website that no one really knows who's involved with it. There's some rumors of particular individuals, but for the most part, it's real shadowy, right? And the reason why is because they know they're shady as fuck doing this stuff. And it's like, oh, well, we're just, we're trying to preserve the history. Well, stealing other people's biographical information that's been written and not crediting those people, and then using bullshit AI artwork based on photographs that are out there online. Yeah. Max Apocalypse has joined us, as has Peaceful Porcupine. Peaceful Porcupine says, I use AI to brainstorm adventures, but its ideas are never good enough to use without refining. Max Apocalypse says, stealing art and not having any ideas is literally worth burning the world down, I guess. See, that's where I have the biggest issue with AI when it comes to our hobby. It's not that AI is being used as a tool to refine people's writing. It's not being used to edit people's writing. No, it's being used to write from nothing, whole cloth, something else it's stealing. Because something that's very important for people to keep in mind, in case you weren't aware of this, you cannot copyright mechanics of a game. As an example, when they talk about the open game license for Dungeons and Dragons, they're not talking about the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons. They're talking about particular items with Dungeons and Dragons, which are included in, say, the SRD. And there are things that are not included in the SRD, so they are not open to the gaming license, right? So as an example, we've got is it Displacer Beasts or Blink Dogs? For whatever reason, they're not part of the SRD. Just like Beholders aren't. That's why when you have other third-party fantasy role-playing games that use the open game license, they're like eye tyrants and stuff like that. But the mechanics themselves of games cannot be copywritten. So anybody can tweak those however they want and use them for their own devices. So I can guarantee you, not that I've personally gone and taken a look to double check all these things, but I can guarantee you, floating around on Drive-Thru RPG and some of the other One Bookshelf sites have got to be some games, some like core books that are just other role-playing games that have been basically whitewashed and cleaned up and restructured through AI. I would bet money on that, right? I can't tell you positively that that is the case, but I would be willing to lay a bet down because I think more than likely that is the case. And I have seen just within the last couple of months, the increase in the AI created shit that has been spewed all over Drive-Thru RPG. Every time you turn around, if you take a look at like the new items, if you go take a peek at the new items, you're going to see probably about 50% or more is going to show that it was created utilizing AI. And as far as the One Bookshelf sites go, there is no dividing line as far as what sort of AI was used or how AI was used. So was it the cover of the game? The cover artwork was AI? Is it all the content within AI? Don't know. So my big issue with AI now is not only the just wanton theft of other creative people's work without, well, for one, credit, more importantly, without payment. I mean, that's theft. I mean, that's how it is. It's stealing. And I know I have heard from content creators out there. I have heard from people who are trying to launch games. Hey, I can't afford to pay for artwork, so I have to use, whatever opportunity I've got to put free artwork in my game. And if it's AI, if I got to use AI, well, I got to use AI. That's bullshit. I've called people out on this before. If you can't afford to put artwork in your game, even by using stock art or using artwork that's public domain, then you know what? I don't think we need you in the hobby. If you're going to steal other people's work so that you can publish your own games without any thought to the people who came before you, whose work you're basically stealing, I don't want you in this hobby. And I know I'm not the sort of person who's like a gatekeeper or anything like that, but you know what? You got to be a pretty shitty person to sit there. And, like I said, I have had people bust my chops about me not sharing news pieces regarding publications that utilized AI. or telling people that, hey, you know what? I understand you're an individual person who's publishing this. Find a way to use artwork that's not stealing someone else's work. And they get all pissy about that. I don't fucking care. You know, it's like, if we don't make a stand, then it's just going to be, oh, well, you know, it's just a given that this is how things are now. So that's my biggest gripe. My newest gripe is just how much of this just absolute trash that's being created by AI is being vomited all over the place in the hobby. Where every time you turn around, I mean, it was bad enough when we had all the third-party 5e stuff that like 95% of was just absolute dog shit. Now we've got all the AI junk just thrown on top of it. And you'll see that you'll have these so-called publishers who will release like 10 or 15 products all at one time. And I've also started to see where some of these products on, say, TTRPG as an example, are looking like they're really getting close to stepping on other copyright toes. Like the estate of Robert E. Howard, as an example, or the estate of Fritz Leiber. You know, just because those people are dead does not mean that their work is all public domain. Now, granted, Lovecraft stuff, well, he didn't have any family to follow up with. So yeah, that's all up for grabs. That's why we have so many Cthulhu Mythos role-playing games and role-playing adventures and things like that, is because there really is no copyright with that. That's why I always wonder, I know I'm going to kind of go off on a little sidetrack here. So when Call of Cthulhu first came out, and then we had Deities and Demigods, and the first 2 print runs of Deities and Demigods had the Cthulhu mythos in it. And then Chaosium was like, well, you know, we've got copyright on that. And is it the 3rd print run where it says something like, oh, thank you to Chaosium Inc. But then there's no Cthulhu mythos in it, right? From there on out, it's kind of like, so if it was pretty much public domain, it's like, I don't know, who did Chaosium Inc. have a copyright with? What was the licensing agreement? I don't know. Weirdly enough, I had the first printing of Deities and Demigods with the Cthulhu mythos. Also had, if I remember correctly, that also had the Nawan characters, right? Fafhrd Grey Mouser. And I think they had to take that out of future print runs. So there you go. There you go. So let's see what's going on in chat here. Cooperative Waffle says Robert E. Howard and Fritz Leiber should be in the public domain, though. So that's, you know, that kind of stuff's really tricky, right? So here in the U.S., isn't it like, what, 75 years? I think is the case, 75 years. So the thing is, like, Disney's been able to extend their copyright on things. So there's some weird ways around things like that. But I understand what you're saying. So that's why I made that Winnie the Pooh horror movie a couple of years back that did really well. So I could always tell when something has gone public domain. Like there was a Kickstarter for a Nancy Drew role-playing game. I'm not necessarily knocking the company that did it. I know nothing about it. I think it was probably maybe their first attempt at publishing a game, maybe. And I remember I saw it and said it was based on the first 4 books of Nancy Drew. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, so I guess the first 4 books of Nancy Drew are now public domain. And sure enough, that was the case. So, and it was kind of funny because it was like Nancy Drew carrying a gun. So I guess, yeah, early Nancy Drew was like that, maybe. Mark Hoxwell says, I do wonder how much is purely due to ease and accessibility. Personally, I couldn't tell you where to access a large amount of public domain art. To be fair, I haven't really tried to access it myself. I would think it's fairly easy to do so. And of course, like the One Bookshelf sites, I see like packs of just stock art or art that's being sold by artists for use in publications. So, and it's, you know, relatively inexpensive in order to do that. Now, are you going to be utilizing art that's probably out there in other publications? Yeah. So, but I really hate the fact that legitimate creators are being overshadowed by all this crap. And I got to be honest. In my opinion, I think the One Bookshelf sites need to decide what the hell they're going to do. And I get it. I'm pretty sure their excuse would be, well, you know, we can't tell what's going to be AI, what's not AI. So we just ask the publishers to self-identify what is a product that's utilized AI in its production and those items which have not utilized AI. I guarantee that would be the excuse that would be used. But the thing is, for every item that Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Wargame Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, etc. sells, that's created with AI, is condoning theft, in my opinion. So I'm calling for the One Bookshelf sites to finally pull their heads out of their asses and make a stand that they will not sell products that have been created with artificial intelligence. Will it happen? No. I can't see that happening. So, with that not happening, this is what I would recommend. For all the various different publishers out there who are making content through human ingenuity alone, stop selling through the One Bookshelf sites. And I know, it's easy for me to say that. But here's what I want to point out. So the bigger companies, where if you go and you see, oh, these are the best sellers, they all have websites. And the vast majority of them also have web stores, where if you wanted to buy the PDF, you could do so anyway. And it doesn't necessarily have to be through Drive-Thru RPG. Chaosium Inc., prime example. So if you were to purchase a book at Chaosium Inc.'s website, you get the PDF free. The PDF doesn't come from DriveThruRPG. It comes from Chaosium Inc. server. So Chaosium Inc. is selling items on DriveThruRPG simply for convenience because it's a one-stop shop. But they don't have to. And if enough publishers out there put the One Bookshelf site's feet to the fire and say, hey, you know what? We're going to pull our products if you don't address this problem with AI. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of those big publishers, it's their work that's being ripped off and sold on DriveThruRPG and the other One Bookshelf sites. Now, I know there are publishers out there who are like, hey, you know what? All of our products are only available on DriveThruRPG because we don't have a storefront. We don't have the manpower to have, to create a WooCommerce site or something like that. I understand that. But if you're that small a publisher, then you don't necessarily have to create a storefront. You could sell items through PayPal. And I'm telling you right now, PayPal would be taking far less of a cut out of your profits than One Bookshelf. I know other publishers out there are going to say, hey, well, the One Bookshelf sites, they help cut down on piracy because, they imprint the person's name and the account number on the PDFs. Yeah, they do. And anybody with a little bit of knowledge can strip those indicators out of any PDF. That's why all these different items are, it's got the DriveThruRPG username and number and stuff like that. That's not stopping anybody from pirating your products because your products are already out there being pirated. So DriveThruRPG has done zero to prevent people from pirating your releases. And if it's something that hasn't been pirated, it's simply because it's not in demand. Like I said, there are going to be people out there who are not going to like what I have to say. But if we continue to just sit back and allow the skeevy types out there, and I know there are a lot of folks selling AI role-playing game stuff that are like, well, I'm not skeevy. Sure you are. Of course you are. It's one thing to use AI to, check your grammar and to kind of give your writing a once-over. It's something else to have the AI actually write all the material. That's skeevy. And then use AI to create artwork to accompany the AI created written work. Boy, I tell you. All right, so let's see. Agile Monk has popped on in. Omenal's with us once again. So let's see what chat has to say. Dirk Krieger says, AI art can't be protected. So, steal from the thieves. Yeah, but still. Keith Lewis says, Nancy Drew didn't take crap from no one. Cooperative Waffle says, Google art public domain. Max Apocalypse says, AI is the new NFT. Yeah, to me, I think AI is a scam. the way these companies are pushing AI, like it is going to be the most revolutionary thing in human history, not buying it. Now, sure, is it going to be a useful tool? Of course, in many ways, depending on how it's utilized. Max Apocalypse says, it's being forced on us by our bosses and again, may just succeed in poisoning all of our water and setting towns on fire. Other than that, it's great. Omanal says Lovecraft was still copyrighted when Deities and Demigods was out. Then I would have to say it would have been Arkham House then, wouldn't it? Would that have been who Chaosium Inc. made the deal with? It's got to be. It's got to be August Derleth. And because it's really Arkham House, which made people aware of Lovecraft. I know during the war, there were some paperbacks GIs read that kind of brought him into the consciousness, but it was mainly Arkham House that was able to really, make Lovecraft a name. Let's see. Nancy Out Detectives, the Hardy Boys, says Cooperative Waffles. I didn't really read either of them. As a really small kid, I read Tom Swift. Those were the books I read. And then by the time I would have gotten to like the Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys, I was already reading like Peter Straub and Stephen King. So Agile Monk has joined us in chat. Welcome aboard. Peaceful Porcupine says, we wrote a couple of books, but now our mom brags about writing things with AI slop. Wallona's Cave is also popped on in. Cooperative Waffle says, we need an AI-free sticker, but that doesn't do anything. Because you got to realize, too, I mean, I was just talking about piracy. So that also means that there are plenty of folks out there who have absolutely no qualms about buying something that's been created through AI if they think there's something of value in it. Of course, if they're pirates, they're more likely to look into pirating it first. But Omanal says, easiest way is to support creators Agile Monk says they're typing from their phone. Get ready for typos. The Last True Michael is with us tonight. Says, agreed. Get to know your creators. Yeah, and support your creators. And if you need to support your creators through their web stores, do it. And I know me saying this, it's like my commissions by way of Drive-Thru RPG is usually $100 or more a month. I would take the hit and have them tell me, well, you're not an affiliate anymore. If I could get them to commit to not selling AI slop and bullshit with this honor system nonsense. Let's see. Grouchy Lenny says, I didn't know this till recently, but the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew were all written by teams of ghostwriters. Yes. My gosh. Tons of that stuff was. Shadow. The Shadow was all written by ghostwriters. Who was it? Was it Mac Bolan? Remember we were talking some of those like action novels, the 200-page novels like The Destroyer. There was one of those that was mainly written by ghostwriters. But yeah, there's just tons and tons out there, which were especially like 30s and 40s. That were all ghostwriters. That maybe there was an author who started it off and then, novel number 110 is not them. Max Apocalypse says, Drive-Thru RPG's honor system lets publishers label stuff human created with no AI when you can easily tell otherwise. I agree. I'm right with you on that. And I know that's probably the excuse that Drive-Thru RPG uses why they're not cracking down on AI content. But to me, I think the health of this hobby is much more important than their excuse of, well, you know, who's to say it is or isn't. That's why it's like, well, we let the creators self-identify. Well, as I mentioned, get off your dead ass. It doesn't take that long to figure out if something is created by AI. I've run photos through various different websites. Took probably 30 seconds. And as soon as you see something is created by AI, then boom. Let's see. Old Man Milo is with us tonight. I don't recognize that nickname, so it might be a first-time visit with us in chat, so welcome aboard. Dirk Krieger says they just need to agree to investigate reported files. Sure, it'll cost them some, but the good will be good for their PR long-term. Completely agree. Plus, it helps put the kibosh on this, because a lot of this AI slop exists in tabletop role-playing because the people who are creating this know they can sell it on the one bookshelf sites. If they had to sit there and have a website and sell it themselves, we wouldn't have all this crap. And it's getting to the point where the one bookshelf sites is just drowning in AI slop. Which, you know, if you're Cubicle 7 Games, Chaosium Inc., Monte Cook Games, you're not that concerned about the loss of sales because of the AI slop that's on Drive-Thru RPG, because you know your content is going to rise to the top. But if you're a small creator trying to make your way legitimately in the hobby, lots of luck, especially when you've got these AI publishers rolling out 10 to 15 items at a time. Legitimate small creators are getting buried, and they're creating far better content, just not getting any eyes on it. It's one of the reasons why I always do my best to try to include news from companies not only have you never heard of, but I've never heard of, that catch my attention. And then I do see that they're not using AI. So I'm like, okay, good. At least they're saying they're not. If they are and they're telling me, or they're just indicating they don't, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm sure I've been hoodwinked before. Kevin King says, surely programs can be written to flag likely AI content. Oh, I guarantee it could be. And stop calling me Shirley. Ba-dum-bum. Dirk Krieger says, if they aren't certain, then leave it. Some AI may slip by, but damn, at least try. I agree. You're not going to get it all. And as things continue, it's going to, the quality of artificial intelligence is going to improve, right? The AI artwork nowadays is not as bad as it was early on, and some of it still is, but I mean, we don't really see that you're really oh my God, did I suddenly take LSD or something? Because what the hell is that? Joseph Purdy has joined us in chat. See, Walona's Cave says, from Google, YouTube has initiated a major crackdown on low-quality, mass-produced AI content, removing numerous channels that generate AI slop, including major channels with millions of subscribers. That is actually not new. That began months ago. But you know, it's funny because on one hand, YouTube says, oh, we're going to crush these AI channels. And then their new way of promoting videos and stuff is all screwed up too. Like I said earlier, I keep getting all these videos about people, why I'm hanging it up, why I'm quitting, should I quit? And they're not like game channels. They're people I've never seen before. Channels about stuff that I've got absolutely no interest in. But it's like, okay, so they're promoting stuff that I've got no interest in and never have shown any interest in. And they're also promoting channels with videos that have 0 views. Also on topics that I've never shown any interest in. I'm like, why am I getting this stuff? And my assumption has to be everyone is getting that. Peaceful Porcupine says, now we have abominations like Double Dash in everything. Yep, it certainly does love that dash. I use the dash once in a while, but not like I've seen with AI. Do not know what the deal is with that. Grouchy Lenny says, I think a lot of indie game creators are selling on sites other than One Shelf. I should check and see if those sites have an AI policy. Yeah, I don't know. Grouchy Lenny says, yeah, YouTube's crushing non-AI channels too. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, and the thing is, they're doing all this using AI. Well, yeah, okay. All right, whatever. So, anyway. But as far as the continuation of the proliferation of AI in tabletop role-playing game is bad fucking news. And it's going to drive small creators who are just, trying to make their way into the hobby, dip their toes in, get their foot in the door. It is going to slam that door and take their foot right off because their work is not going to get seen. Not by the Janes and Joes out there in the hobby because of the glut of AI trash that just permeates everywhere in our hobby right now. Agile Monk says YouTube is hosting almost all YouTube channels using AI, save for the channels they have special deals with based on revenue streams. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you one thing I'm glad I don't see anymore. I don't know if they're still around or maybe I just found a way to avoid getting them in my suggested videos. The bullshit deep fake trailers and that. And to be like, what the fuck? It's like, I know this is not legitimately a trailer for this movie. This movie doesn't even exist. So, yes, Grouchy Lenny, I have absolutely no issue voicing my opposition to AI. And like I said, people don't like it. I do not care. And if there are people out there who want to make as much money as they possibly can by doing practically no work at all, who get pissed off about what I've been saying, I don't really give a shit about that either. So, because like I said, if we just allow this to continue, it's like if you allow a couple of cockroaches to co-inhabit your apartment, they ain't going to leave And you're not going to have 2 cockroaches for long. Kevin King says, I think it's worse than the D20 deluge. Cooperative Waffles mentioned that it kind of reminds them of that which burst the RPG bubble. Oh, it's far worse than that. It's, the D20, I guess we'll say fiasco, which I'm not super aware of, right? I mean, okay, I take that back. I'm aware of it. I'm not overly knowledgeable about it simply because the only role-playing game I was really doing anything with was Call of Cthulhu at that point in time. But it's like anything out there, once something's popular and it's like, oh, hey, you can make money with that. Yeah. The milkshake brings all the boys, right? It's like I said, like anything else where it's like, okay, this is popular. Well, I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. And I got to be honest. I honestly think the whole like World of Darkness was a bigger threat to the hobby than D20. Not that I didn't have anything against White Wolf or anything like that, but it was, Vampire is popular, Werewolf is popular. They've got all these games that came out. All those games had all these splat books. So most game stores only had so much space devoted to role-playing games. And what were they going to carry but things that sold? So that was the big hit. Those were the big sellers. So other games weren't getting space on the shelves. So I completely get that. Like I said, I think that was a bigger threat to role-playing as a hobby than D20. But once again, it's not like I'm super well-versed. But I mean, basically, my understanding is that everybody and their mother was converting their role-playing games over to D20. And then you had a bunch of D20 splats. And then, of course, like anything else, you had all these third-party products out there, just like all the trash we see for Dungeons and Dragons that's third-party. Not to say it's all trash. There's lots of really great stuff that's third-party. But you know what I'm saying. Where it's like, yeah, we're just in this for the fast buck. It's like, we're not investing too much time and energy into this product. That's what the AI deal reminds me of. Is the, let's just cash in on this shit. Who cares? Who cares if we put garbage out there? People are buying it, whatever. That's what I dislike a bunch. All right, we're going to wrap up in just a few moments. So, talking about nuclear apocalypse, cockroaches and AI will survive. Hey, it might be AI that brings it on. I don't know. Keith Ulu also points out, at least the D20 deluge was created by people, not dodgy AI apps. Dirk Krieger says, low effort is better than no effort. Yes, and something else we need to mention is how much environmental damage is being done by these data centers. And as AI continues to grow, these companies who have pretty much pushed all their chips in on AI are going to build more data centers. So that's why there was a comment about burning the world down or burning the town down. Yeah, sort of. All right. So Dirk Krieger says, data centers for AI aren't inherently a threat, but the massive centers are trying to quick fab with no care for local impact. Yeah, those are shit. Yeah, there you go. Joseph Purdy says, this Saturday, they're going to a local gaming store to do play tests with their prototype board game They hired a local print shop to do the format and prints. Nice. Stretchy Laney says, sad thing about the D20 deluge was the publishers who had really cool creative game systems that felt compelled to port their games to D20 in favor of creating more content for their games. That's why we have all the 5e adjacent or 5e compatible content out there, because there are a lot of publishers out there who don't feel confident enough in their own game systems to release their content built on their own game systems. So they build it for Dungeons and Dragons, because at least that way they know there's an audience. But on the flip side of that, you got a lot of competition out there. All right. Let's see. Dirk Krieger says they married the goth girl from their high school. This Tetsu Trekkie was talking about goth girls. All right. Let's see. Peaceful Porcupine, Mission Impossible, convince players to play something other than 5e. You know, I have somebody that on Facebook who I don't really know them. I mean, it's one of these, you know, people who sent me a friend request because of the gaming gang. And they were carrying on about how Dungeons and Dragons is going to kill off the hobby. And, you know, the first thing is get 90% of the players out there to refuse to play anything other than 5e D&D. And then, because I guess, what was it? Wargamer had an article, and I'll be the first to point out, if I were looking for specific facts, I don't necessarily think I'd be going to Wargamer for them. Yeah, they're right there with like Dice Breaker, at least in my opinion. But I guess they had an article talking about how, and we already know this, that Wizards of the Coast wants to release like different IPs built on D&D. So I guess Wargamer was, you know, going all bananas about it. And I honestly thought Wargamer was kind of a website that's devoted to miniatures games. Although I know Cubicle 7 Games has done some interviews with them in the past. So maybe they're, you know, maybe they've got some sort of connection or whatever. But that is not the case. You are never going to get 90% of gamers out there all on board one IP. How can I tell you that? Well, geez, let's look at the history of our hobby. The Paizo Inks, Cubicle 7 Games, the Troll Lord Games, Monte Cook Games. Gosh, I could go on, right? It's like Mongoose Publishing, Free League Publishing. All these companies exist. All these companies are doing well. And for the most part, they do not publish 5e stuff. So the big overreaction where it's like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast is going to kill the hobby. Once again, clickbait nonsense. Maybe I'll delve into this a little more next week as a topic. Don't know. All right. So a little discussion of White Wolf. Yeah, I didn't, like I said, I had no problem with White Wolf. I picked up Vampire the Masquerade when it came out. I picked up some of the splats. I did not get like Werewolf and stuff like that, because it just, I was like, okay. I didn't even run Vampire. So, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a nice change from the same old. And yes, got popular and forced a lot of people, a lot of publishers out of game stores. So there was that. Yeah, so Cooperative Waffles, you know, Knights of the Dinner Table, Columbia Games, Troll Lord Games, all these companies out there all doing well. So you can't tell me that, 90% of the role players out there are playing only Dungeons and Dragons. I wouldn't think 90% of the role players play Dungeons and Dragons at all. I would go maybe 50 to 60% play D&D and maybe other games as well. But yeah, the 90% of gamers will only play 5e. That's bullshit. That's, the sky is falling, Chicken Little nonsense. No. And also it does kind of fall into the whole let's hate on Wizards of the Coast. It's like, I say it all the time. This is my last comment tonight. We're going to wrap up. I get so tired of the Wizards of the Coast hatred. It's like, and I get it. I understand. It brings eyes to you when you whine and complain about Wizards of the Coast. People take a look, or they'll go watch the video or what have you. But it's fucking ridiculous. It's like, come on. Too many people make Wizards of the Coast out to be this like boogeyman they're supposed to be afraid of. So this is something I don't get. So Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons is too popular. Too many people play Dungeons and Dragons. And then on the flip side, these same people tell us how Wizards of the Coast is going to destroy role playing and we won't have a hobby anymore. So which is it? Is it the end of role playing as we know it? Or is it like only people will only play Dungeons and Dragons? You can't have both. All right. So Tessie Trekkie with a $2.99 Australian super chat. Tipping the cap to goth women. Very nice. All right, everybody. That is it for tonight's show. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, you get a tip of the cap, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company as I pontificate about a topic, also sharing the tabletop role-playing game news of the day. And of course, you also keep each other company, discussing cup size of goth girls and other items of interest in chat. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. It is vastly appreciated. Of course, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, please select all notifications, because you might just luck out and be notified not only when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. You might actually get the bonus round and find out when I share other videos, such as my recent Kickstarter preview of Tom Clancy's The Division role-playing game from Arcane Asylum Publishing. I also have some reviews hitting this weekend as well, so stay tuned for those. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you kindly for watching. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Have a great rest of the week and weekend. I'll be back on Tuesday. And as always, I certainly hope each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.